greetings and welcome to the Path to Freedom. This I can't find of any other words to describe it, but beautiful and wonderful, magnificent, amazing path that we get to walk. This is absolutely a privilege that we get to walk a path of setting ourselves free, where we get to walk a path of moving ourselves out of setting ourselves free from being mindless reactionary drones, from the collective insanity. There are different ways of describing all of this, but it all comes down to that. This is the path where we get to set ourselves free to be in ever-expanding love and joy and peace and harmony, where we get to set ourselves free to forever love for greater and grander expressions of who we are, where we get to set ourselves free to shine, to soar, to glow. All of this regardless of conditions and circumstances. So this is the path that is unconditional. We're setting ourselves free from reacting, from giving power to whatever seems to be going on around us, to the turbulence, to the negativity, to the insanity, the madness, the swirling, the moving back and forth, all of that. We are setting ourselves free to stand in a high vibration, to elevate our consciousness, to expand our consciousness, regardless of all of that, independently of all of that. So it is a beautiful path to walk. My name, as always, is Daniel Roquillo, and as always, I am very grateful that you are choosing to join me into this space, as we are building a community, as we are gathering in this way. The field that we are each contributing into, it amplifies and it magnifies, and obviously the ripple effects of this field become ever greater and greater and greater. So we are all the work that we are doing in our own closets, in our own bedrooms, in our own gardens, in our own mind, in our own consciousness. That work obviously has a profound effect on the collective human consciousness, which is very much needed right now. As humanity is in a space of profound transformation. We may not always be able to see it, but that is what is happening. There's a big shift happening in the human consciousness, which is why we're having all these, and which is why we're experiencing and seeing all these expressions of insanity and madness with the wars and a whole lot of things going on. This was a complete sidetrack from the topic, but it is what is. It is what is. Spirit is always expressing itself perfectly. So those words that just flew out of my mouth, they are in perfect alignment with what is needed to be shared and said and stated. So I'm bowing to that, and I'm surrendering to that. The topic for today actually deals with, it's relative to the art of manifestation, and it is relative to trust and surrender, that first pillar of freedom. Trust and surrender. So the topic is, it is done and it is happening now. It is done and it is happening now. And this has to do with how the infinite mind of spirit has every single possibility in it. How every single possibility already exists in this infinite mind, in this omniscient mind, the mind that knows all, that sees all. And so as we move along the path of manifestation, as we say yes to as we begin to catch intentions, visions, dreams, goals, and as we say yes to them, which simply means that we, in essence, say to ourselves that from this moment on, I'm going to do my part. I'm not going to make it happen, but I'm going to do my part. I'm going to be walking, moving in the direction of this intention, this vision, allowing inspiration to lead, allowing that still small voice to guide and lead and move me into inspired action. But even if we cannot see it, and as it is so prevalent, it is so clearly evident in nature, as we are planting perhaps a seed. It may be a rose seed that we're planting in our gardens, or it may be a tomato seed that we're planting in a pot, or whatever the case may be. But as we're planting a seed, inherent within the seed, first of all, inherent within the seed, the highest possibility for, or the highest potential for that particular seed already exists. So the highest vision for that seed exists. Given the right conditions, in terms of temperature, in terms of nutrients in the soil, in terms of humidity, in terms of pH, in terms of, there are probably other factors as well. But given the right conditions, that seed will, in its due time, in its own perfect time, in its own perfect unfoldment, it will unfold, it will expand, it will grow into that highest possibility, that highest potential. So inherent within the seed, that possibility already exists. Now, as we are catching insights, intentions, really, as we are catching intentions, as we are catching dreams, as we are catching visions, as we are catching goals, it is normal, it is common for us to believe that we came up with this intention, that we created this vision. But that's not really the case. There is a cosmic gardener, this loving presence that is all there is. We can call it God, we can call it spirit, we can call it energy, we can call it the universe, we can call it love, we can call it whatever we want to call it. It is still the one, the all in all. And it is this loving presence, deepest desire and highest intent. The purpose of all of life is for this loving presence, this cosmic gardener, to come into its greatest expression, to come into ever greater and grander expressions of itself. It's not really accurate to say it's greatest, because it is infinite, it is eternal. So there is no end destination, there is no final, I made it, I'm here. That's not how it is. But the expansion is infinite, the unfoldment is infinite, it is ever and not everlasting, it is eternal. But the purpose of life is so that this loving presence may reveal more of itself, so that it may know more of itself. It cannot ever be more than what it already is, but it can express more, it can reveal more, it can allow more to be expressed. I believe I said that. So it is this loving presence, it is this infinite mind that is planting these seeds of inspiration, the vision, the intention, the dream, the goal within us. So we're not creating anything. And as these are being planted, the highest possibility for them already exists, right? In this infinite mind. When the cosmic gardener plants the seed within our consciousness, the highest possibility already exists. So it is done. It's already happened in that infinite mind. And as we are planting these physical seeds, like the tomato seed or the apple seed or the avocado seed or whatever the case may be, as we are planting them, they have a life of their own. And even before anything shows above ground or shows in the pot, the manifestation, the demonstration, the unfoldment is already happening. Because even before any visible signs of anything happening become visible, the seed roots and it shoots, and it takes a while for the shoot to break the surface. But even long before that, it is happening. And so it is with manifestation. Manifestation is not ever a future thing. It's not ever something that is going to manifest in some future moment. Yes, the signs may be visible in some future moment. The demonstration may reveal itself in some future moment, but it is still happening. It is still happening even before we can see it, even before we even know that it is happening. The moment we say yes to something, the moment we catch a dream, an intention, and say yes to it, which simply means that we say that from this moment on, I'm going to be moving and walking in the direction of this dream or intention. In that moment, as we're locking on to that possibility, as we're now elevating ourselves, as we're now upgrading, we're changing the trajectory, we're changing the direction of our lives, as we're now moving in a different direction. In that moment, the manifestation begins. We need to say yes to it. As long as we hold it as a daydream or a fantasy, not moving in the direction, as long as we perhaps believe that it is impossible and is not making any choice whatsoever that is in alignment with the full realization, the manifestation is not happening. But the moment we say yes, it is still there in potential. The possibility still exists, but we have not locked onto it. We have not put something in motion. But the moment we say yes, the moment we begin to make choices that are in alignment with the manifestation, with the realization, with the demonstration, with this intention coming into fruition, clothing itself, in that moment the manifestation begins. And it's going to continue as long as we hold the vibrational alignment, as long as we keep moving in that direction, the manifestation is going to continue to happen. The unfoldment is going to continue to happen. Just like that seed, like a tree. A tree never stops growing. It never stops growing. It just continues and continues and continues to grow and unfold and expand. And not because of the seed, not because of the acorn or the birch seed or the maple seed or chestnut or whatever the case may be, whatever the kind of seed it is. But there's a life within. And so it is with our dreams and intentions and visions and goals. They have a life of their own. They want to come into fruition. They want to come into their highest expression. They want to come into greater expression, always. So there is a life within the seed that is being planted, that has been planted within our consciousness. So all this to say that we don't ever need to make anything happen, and we do not need to fret or worry as to how to make it happen. We do not need to engage in urgent activities. We do not need to try to fit it into our calendar or our time frames. The manifestation is happening, and it is happening perfectly. This loving presence always expresses itself perfectly. It cannot ever be against itself. It cannot ever, there are no random acts, there are no meaningless acts, there are no mistakes. There is only divine and perfect order happening always. Divine and perfect activity happening always. So even if we are perhaps not experiencing what we prefer to be experiencing, these are our judgments. These are limitations that we impose on spirit by saying that this should have happened by now, or this should be happening this way or that way. This is our limited way of being, our limited thought patterns, our fears, our worries, our doubts as to whether or not it is going to manifest. And ultimately, it is our sense of separation from the good that we desire that is giving rise to these thought forms as to what should and should not be, as to when it should be. So we're wise to always lean into the 4 dimensions of surrender. Surrendering, first of all, and this may come as a surprise, to surrender the what it needs to look like, what it is going to look like once it is manifested. Yes, we have caught a vision. Yes, we have caught an intention. But in catching that we are in a limited consciousness. Not to say that we have not expanded our consciousness, not to say that we do not have a beautiful, wonderful consciousness, but when we catch something, we are catching it from a limited consciousness. And as we move along the path of manifestation, our consciousness expands and we become open and available and receptive to even greater expressions of our initial intention. So once again, the ever unfolding, the ever expansion is always happening. And so it is with our consciousness. So we're wise to not attach ourselves to a particular outcome or an end result. We're wise to not say that this needs to look like this way or this is going to look like this, but to give Spirit free rein, to live in the dimension of thy will be done, trusting that thy will, the will of Spirit, is for our highest good. For our highest good. As perhaps one of my go-to affirmations state, that everything is working for our highest good, even if we cannot see it. So the what is the one dimension of surrender that we're wise to lean into. Another dimension of surrender is how. How is this going to manifest? What needs to happen? And Spirit alone knows what needs to happen. And Spirit alone knows when it needs to happen. Leaning into the third dimension of surrender. And then the fourth dimension, it is not always related, it is not always relevant to the manifestation process or the art of manifestation, but the fourth dimension is why. Why is this happening? But we're so wise to not relegate, to not confine, to not limit Spirit to what we believe is to happen, how it is to happen, and when it is to happen. It is done and it is happening, and it is happening for the highest good. It is happening for our highest good always. Anything else, anything less would be this loving presence being against itself. And it cannot be against itself. It cannot compromise itself. It cannot contradict itself. It cannot ever go against itself. It cannot limit itself. It cannot divide itself into parts. It is always for itself. It is always for fuller expression. It is always seeking to come into a greater and grander expression. So everything that is happening for that reason. That is the whole evolutionary impulse that flows through all of creation, that flows through us, that flows in and through in us, our consciousness, always in us and through our dreams, in us and through our visions, intentions, goals. So the invitation for us today is to come back to trust. That even in the midst of this, even now, all is well. Even if I cannot see, even if I don't believe, all is still well. It is done. It is happening now. All is well. So that's the invitation. And the question, or the questions for us to ask is, what choice can I make if I know that it is done? If I know that it is happening now, what choices can I make that are in alignment with that, so that we're not moving from fear, but we're moving in spite of fear. We're not moving from doubt, we're moving in spite of doubt. We're not moving from worry, we're moving in spite of worry. We're not moving from a sense of separation, believing that our good, whatever it may be, is somewhere out there in some future moment or somewhere out in the world, and that we need to get it. But we're moving from a sense of knowing that it's already here. So what choice can I make that is in alignment with me knowing that it is done and that it is happening now? That's the question. Thank you so much for tuning in, for participating. If this resonated with your heart and soul, please share it with everyone else who you feel might benefit from hearing this. So until we meet again, I absolutely know that all is well. I absolutely know that something wonderful is happening. I absolutely know that everything is working for our highest good. It is done. It is happening now. With much love. Many blessings. Namaste.